today, and long story short, it's really ugly. I want to go through the details of this and let's jump right in. So first, headline from the Financial Times: U.S. labor market cools sharply with only 73,000 jobs added in July. Okay, and this particular number, the 73,000 jobs, that is under what the market slash Wall Street was expecting. I think they're expecting like over 100,000, these kind of things. So we're short of expectations. But then there's more, which is a big part of the headline as well, is they revised the previous couple of months down, meaning that they overcounted jobs the last time we had a couple reads, and they marked the revision 258,000 to the downside. Okay, so let me read through more of it, try to make some sense of this for you guys. So it says the U.S. economy added 73,000 jobs in July, while previous months were revised sharply downwards, fueling concerns of a cool down in the American labor market. So again, the jobs data came in weak this month, and then the last couple of months before that, the numbers were off by quite a lot, right? 258,000 revised downward. Friday's figure from the Bureau of Labor Statistics was below the 105,000 anticipated by economists polled by Bloomberg. It came on top of huge revisions to May and June hiring data, which were slashed by combined 258,000 positions to, and then they say in May we added 19,000 jobs, and in June in 14,000. So if the trend continues, this number that we got this month at 73,000 will probably be revised down also if the trend continues. Not good. I mean, I think you guys already know this stuff. And then you have another big number in not a good direction. The June unemployment rate was up to 4.2%. So again, unemployment's going up, revised jobs down for the last couple of months, and then the jobs this month came in short of expectations. And I think when you talk about the unemployment rate at 4.2%, that may not necessarily count a lot of people, be it underemployed, you're not paid enough, or you're not working enough hours. And you guys know this, there are many jobs out there these days that are gig work or sort of like contract only. There's no security, or this kind of numbers that say the 4.2 unemployment. What about people who just quit looking altogether and just dropped out of the system, right? So there's a lot of things that are under factor. A lot of people say that you could double this number if you want to get like a real sense of where we are, and you'll know in your neck of the woods, be it from family, friends, people around you, what people are saying. I hear already for young people, it's really hard to get a job coming out of college. And I know it's really tough out there. I really do know. So that's why it's ridiculous when, the Trump people always tell you that everything is great. The bond market is already responding. Sort of the bet now, I think the last numbers I checked, maybe 65 to 70% chance that the market's betting that the Fed will cut next time around. Now the rate cut alone won't necessarily make things better, because the problem is that the Trump people, they're threatening to the whole tariff trade war thing, and that would basically cause your costs to go up. So unemployment is going up, your costs are going up, inflation then is obviously going to be going up. Things aren't looking good. That's why I'm going through this stuff with you guys. This is just breaking now. Here it says, traders in futures markets up their bets on interest rate cuts from the U.S. Federal Reserve, pushing up the chance of rate cut, the meeting next month. So before we were thinking 45% chance of a cut. Now it's up to 70% chance. But I wouldn't hold my breath, and that's going to save everything, because we're just in a really bad spot right now. The jobs numbers followed the release of GDP data this week that suggested that growth had decelerated in the first half of the year, which you've been talking about. And remember, the Trump people were trying to gaslight you, saying, hey guys, look at how great GDP numbers are. But it didn't really tell the full story, because you have to understand that in the first quarter, a lot of people bought a bunch of stuff, right, to get ahead of the tariffs. Second quarter, they quit buying stuff, and then we go to third and fourth quarter of this year, and I don't think it's going to be such a great time in the consumer market. And I think you guys know this, right? Let's think about this. If people don't have jobs, if people already made their big purchases, what's going to happen? President Trump obviously is angry at Powell. He's going to try to blame Powell, etc. That's what it says. It says President Donald Trump has repeatedly sought to pressure Fed Chair Jay Powell into lowering borrowing costs, right? Wants to get everyone borrowing again. But the Fed's policy setting committee this week voted for the 5th consecutive meeting to hold rates steady on concerns Trump's tariffs will push inflation higher, right? So this is where we're having a major problem. Powell said following the decision that, quote, the economy is not performing as though restrictive policy is holding it back inappropriately, but cautioned that there was, quote, downside risk to the labor market in the coming months, right? And this is what we're seeing. And then Trump will go on and just call Powell a stubborn moron and that they should try to take control of it, whatever. Give you some more thoughts on this stuff. This is coming from Bloomberg. Boy, it actually even just changed live. Now it's saying investors now see an 80% chance that the Fed will lower rates in September. Wow, I'm literally doing this live with you guys. So first I read 65% chance of a cut. Now the market's saying 70% chance. Now we're at 80% chance of a cut. So this is not a good cut though. A cut in order that to try to get things going because if the Fed does indeed think the market or the economy and everything is in really bad shape, and you're like, okay, we need to cut rates to get people borrowing and try to get economic cycle going. But the problem is, again, is that Trump tariff war. You also have Trump, right, is firing federal workers. The only industries that they said they were theoretically adding jobs were healthcare and education. But I think there's some smoke and mirrors with the education one. The healthcare one I think is real though. To be frank, I do think there's definitely needs in that, and I think they're hiring. And every time I ask you guys, and you always confirm that. But to be fair then you remember Trump is cutting Medicaid, Medicare things, so you may have a lot of problems in that industry, depending on if you're in a rural hospital or not. Let's read some more here. Rosenberg BlackRock says the revisions show a dramatic different picture. Now, when you look at the past 3 months, before these numbers, the 3-month average of payroll gains was 150,000. With the revisions for May and June, the new July figure, the 3-month average is now 35,000. That's sort of talking about kind of averaging how many jobs were added. But I think any of these numbers are going to be tough to take seriously from the Trump people, meaning that the ones we're getting this month, I concerns on that. I do know they were making cuts to various agencies who do count the various numbers. I think that was the BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And we've read that and talked about this before, how they're just making cuts to how we count stuff, or they're going to try to make changes in how we do GDP or count any of this government data. They're going to try to basically hide stuff from you guys. But again, you're going to know what's going on here. What else we got here? Boy, it's a lot. On the jobs report. So this is coming from B. Riley Wealth. So they say, today's jobs report is unambiguously soft, so not good, and a reflection of the trade and tariff impact on economic growth. Both the actual report and the big negative revisions, so that's again, everyone's talking about this, are evidence that the trade policy will slow growth. What we know about our workforce population growth is that we need to create between 100 and 150,000 jobs a month to keep unemployment rate unchanged. Interesting, just the kind of the way things shake out. So that's sort of why you're looking at like are we keeping employment, say, at a stable level, or are we going to be declining? So we're definitely in the decline. That is down from the 150 to 200,000 last year, to less immigration. Okay, makes sense. The 3-month average coming today's report was 150,000. The 3-month average of a job creation is now 80,000. Not great news. So they came up with a little bit different numbers on how to calculate jobs, but that's essentially what everyone's looking at. Like the last 3 months after you take in the revisions, how to think about this. Oh, here's another one. It's the 3rd straight month of double-digit thousands of manufacturing sector losses. So double-digit thousands. How many? This isn't fitting with the narrative of factories being stimulated by import substitution and reshoring. Factory jobs were down by 11,000 in July over the past 3 months, and they're talking factory jobs here in manufacturing. 37,000 positions were lost. So we're closing factories, we're losing jobs there. The only place they're hiring, I think, is healthcare, right? Essentially, this is what it says. I'll read it. This is again from Bloomberg. Private sector, education and healthcare and health jobs, which were hammered by COVID and took a long time to recover, continue to be a key source, or really now the source, meaning the only ones, of job growth. That category was up by 79,000, more than the total payroll gain. I see. So basically what this is if you look at the numbers, and some sectors are losing. So for example, in the manufacturing is losing jobs. And then they're saying, okay, education and healthcare is hiring, but this is the only one that was up then. That makes sense. Yeah. So we're losing jobs everywhere else. So for example, there's another one. Federal government payrolls are down for a sixth straight month by 12,000 in July. State and local government categories help to limit overall government sector payroll decline to just 10,000, however. Yeah, so that's what's going on. I'm just looking through the stuff. It's all kind of saying the same stuff. Downward revisions, bad report, bad unemployment, inflation looks ugly. Trump's going to try to blame Fed Powell. I'm just reading through different Wall Street reports or whatever. And again, I have to mention that why, Wall Street market stuff like that. Because, just tell me the numbers. Tell me what's going on. It's not really partisan or anything like that. Because sometimes because that's what all Trump and the Fox News will try to paint it, that we're all partisan. No, we're just literally just reading the numbers of what the jobs are, or now trying to calculate the revised numbers and figure out where growth or anything would make sense. And if you follow anything with the Trumps always say, they say, hey guys, we're going to have all this growth in crypto and AI and more smoke and mirrors. I mean, it ends up what it ends up being. It looks really ugly. Here's another one. Jobless rate rises even as more leave the workforce. So I just want to give you an update. I'm sure there'll be more news come out and we'll get reactions, but the market looks ugly. I think the Dow was down 300 points the last time I checked, but it is just came out just a few minutes ago. I want to hear your thoughts on this one, and we'll keep talking about this the rest of the day. And I'll catch you in the next video.